I want you to picture an engine. And I don't mean the V8 in a muscle car, and I don't mean a computer processor. I mean that invisible, sometimes sputtering, sometimes roaring engine of human behavior. You know, think about the last time you looked at a massive, terrifying challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Could be starting a business or learning Mandarin or honestly just raising your hand in a high-stakes meeting.
That moment of hesitation.
Exactly. That split second. What is the actual fuel that makes person A look at that cliff and say, yeah, I can climb that, while person B,
You might have the exact same skills.
the exact same resume, maybe even better shoes, looks at the same cliff and just retreats into the shadows?
It is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's the holy grail of psychology, management, and, frankly, parenting.
Right.
And usually when we try to answer it, we end up throwing around these vague, fluffy platitudes. Just believe in yourself.
Right, passion.
Visualize the win, all of that.
Right, it's the hang in there cat poster philosophy. And I'll be honest, that stuff usually makes me roll my eyes. But today, we are going to tear that poster down.
You are.
We are going to look at the actual mechanics of motivation. And to do that, we have two really distinct but strangely complementary stacks of research on the table.
We do. And we are traveling back to the mid-70s to get them.
Yeah.
This was a golden era for behavioral science. You know, we didn't have fMRIs yet, so people had to get really creative with experiments.
Okay, so what are the two angles?
So on one side, we have the internal psychology. We're looking at Albert Bandura's 1977 work on self-efficacy. This is the internal engine.
And on the other side?
The external environment. We've got J. Richard Hackman and Greg Oldham's 1976 research on motivation through the design of work.
So this is about how the actual structure of your job, the boring details of tasks and responsibilities, can either light a fire under you or absolutely suffocate you.
Precisely. So the mission for this deep dive is synthesis. We want to understand how your internal belief system shakes hands with the external design of your world. Because if you have one without the other,
The engine doesn't start.
the engine doesn't start.
And I have to say, looking through the Bandura notes, there are snakes.
Oh, there are a lot of snakes.
I am terrified of snakes, so reading about the snake phobia experiment was visceral. But we'll get to the reptile pit in a bit.
We will.
Let's start with the internal side. Albert Bandura. He coins this term self-efficacy. Now, I have to be the layman here. To me, that just sounds like a fancy academic word for confidence.
Right.
Or maybe self-esteem. Are we just splitting hairs?
We are definitely not splitting hairs.
Yeah.
And that distinction is the first major aha moment we need to lock in. If you walk away with nothing else today, understand this. Self-efficacy is not self-esteem.
Okay, hit me with the definition.
So Bandura defines self-efficacy as the belief in one's capabilities to organize and execute the courses of action required to produce given attainments.
Wow. That's dry. Organize and execute courses of action. Can we translate that into human?
Yeah, let's do that. Think of it this way. Self-efficacy is a judgment of your capability regarding a prospective situation.
The future thing.
A future thing. It
Yeah.
is task-specific. It's not, am I good? It's, can I do this specific thing that's in front of me right now?
Okay. So how does that differ from self-esteem? Because I feel like if I think I can do things, my self-esteem goes up. They seem linked.
They are related, for sure, but they are not the same thing. Self-esteem is a global sense of self-worth. It's the deep-down belief that I am a good person.
Okay.
You can have high self-esteem and zero self-efficacy in a specific task.
Yeah.
The example often used is something like ballroom dancing or horseback riding.
Okay, let's go with horses.
Yeah.
I have never ridden a horse. If you put me in front of a stallion, my self-efficacy for riding that horse is 0.
Right.
I do not believe I can execute the behavior. I will fall off.
Exactly. You have low efficacy regarding horsemanship. But, and here's the key, does that fact make you feel like a worthless human being?
No.
Does it keep you up at night?
No. I don't care about horses at all.
Precisely. So your self-esteem is untouched. You can accept that you are terrible at riding horses without it damaging your core self-worth.
Right.
But you can flip it over. You can have incredibly high self-efficacy. You might be a world-class violinist knowing you can play any concerto perfectly,
Right.
but suffer from crushing low self-esteem.
Because you hold yourself to some impossible standard or you feel unlovable or something.
Exactly. You might think, I'm a failure because I'm not the best in the world.
That is a crucial distinction. So you can be a master of your craft and still dislike yourself.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
Self-efficacy is cold. It's about data. Can I do X? Self-esteem is hot. It's about worth.
So what about confidence? Because people use that word all the time. I hear people say, I'm confident I'm going to screw this up.
That's a great point. Confidence is just a colloquial, kind of vague term for certainty. You can be confident that you will fail. That's not self-efficacy.
Yeah.
Self-efficacy is the generative belief that you can succeed. And finally, we have to distinguish it from motivation itself.
Wait, I thought we were talking about motivation this whole time.
We are. But self-efficacy is, you could say, the precursor to motivation. Motivation is the desire. It's the want.
Okay.
You can have really high motivation. You really, really want to be a surgeon. But if your self-efficacy is low, if you don't believe you have the capacity to pass organic chemistry, what happens?
I don't apply. I give up before I even start.
Exactly. You have the desire, the motivation, but you'll lack the belief, the efficacy, and the result is inaction.
Or worse, anxiety.
A lot of anxiety. Bandura found that people with low self-efficacy view difficult tasks as threats to be avoided. They just dwell on their personal deficiencies. They visualize failure before they even start.
Whereas the high-efficacy person looks at the same obstacle.
And they see a challenge to be mastered. When they run into a wall, they don't attribute it to, I'm stupid or I'm incapable.
It's not about them.
It's about the strategy. They say, I didn't try hard enough, or I used the wrong approach.
That sounds a lot like what we call growth mindset today.
It is the grandfather of growth mindset. It's attributing failure to something fixable, like effort, rather than something fixed, like innate ability.
Okay, so I'm sold. I want this high self-efficacy. I want to look at the cliff and see a climbing wall, not a death trap. But how do I get it?
Right.
If I'm seeing here with low efficacy, maybe I'm terrified of public speaking. How do I build it? I think Bandura outlines 4 pillars.
4 sources of influence, yeah. And they are ranked by power. The first one, and by far the most influential, is what he calls mastery experiences.
Which to me sounds a little like circular logic. To believe you can do it, you must first do it.
In a way, yes. But it's deeper than that. There's just no substitute for direct evidence. Success builds a robust belief in one's personal efficacy.
So if you try to do something and you succeed, your brain just logs that as proof. See, I can do this.
Exactly. The data is undeniable.
But there's a nuance here in the source material about failure. If success comes too easily, that's actually bad for us.
It can be catastrophic. If you only experience easy successes, if you're the kid who always got A's without studying, you come to expect quick results.
So your efficacy is actually quite fragile.
Very fragile. The moment you hit a real bump, your sense of capability just collapses because you have no internal data on how to handle struggle. Bandura talks about building resilient self-efficacy. And this is built by overcoming obstacles through perseverant effort.
So the struggle is actually part of the architecture. You need to hit the wall, panic a little bit, push through, and then succeed.
Exactly. You need the memory of the recovery. That's the key.
Okay, but we can't always do everything ourselves first. Sometimes we have to learn from others. That brings us to the second source. Vicarious experiences.
Or social modeling. If they can do it, I can do it.
But I'm guessing this really depends on who I'm watching. If I watch LeBron James play basketball, my self-efficacy regarding my own jump shot does not go up. If anything, it goes down because he makes it look impossible.
Exactly right. And this is the trap of social media today. If the model is too different from you, too talented, too experienced, too perfect, you just dismiss it.
You say, well, that's them. They're a unicorn.
Right. But if you see someone who seems similar to you, similar background, similar struggles, and they succeed, that is incredibly powerful.
So if I'm a junior developer, watching the principal architect write code might not help me, but watching another junior developer struggle through a bug and fix it.
That helps. Spot on. Bandura explicitly notes that watching a model who struggles and then succeeds is more inspiring than watching a model who succeeds flawlessly.
We need to see the coping mechanism, not just the victory.
We need to see the sweat that makes it feel attainable.
That makes me feel better about my own messy process.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. This is the one I'm most skeptical about. Verbal persuasion.
This is the coach in the locker room.
You can do this. I believe in you.
That's the one.
Does that actually work? Or is it just noise? Because if I don't believe I can do it, having my boss tell me, you got this, Tiger, usually just annoys me.
You are right to be skeptical. Bandura is very clear that verbal persuasion is the weakest of the 4 sources.
Okay.
It is much, much easier to weaken someone's self-efficacy with criticism than it is to build it up with persuasion.
Oof. That rings true. One mean comment sticks with you for 10 years. One compliment lasts about 10 minutes.
Right. And for persuasion to work at all, 2 things need to happen. First, the persuader has to be credible. If you don't trust their judgment, their praise is worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And second, the feedback has to be realistic. If you tell a tone-deaf person they can win American Idol, you aren't building efficacy, you're just setting them up for a massive crash.
So what's the point of it then? Why is it on the list?
It's a mobilizer. Its best use is to get someone to try hard enough to get a mastery experience.
It's the spark plug, not the fuel.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, the fourth pillar. Physiological and emotional states. This is the sweaty palms, the racing heart.
This one is fascinating because it's entirely about interpretation. When you face a challenge, your body reacts. Adrenaline, cortisol, heart rate. That's normal.
Yeah.
A person with low self-efficacy feels that racing heart and interprets it as a threat signal.
Wow.
They say to themselves, oh no, I'm nervous. My body is telling me I can't handle this. I'm going to fail.
But the high efficacy person.
They feel the exact same physical sensation. Their heart is beating just as fast, but they label it differently.
Oh.
They tell themselves, I'm pumped up. I'm ready. This is energy.
So the biological signal is neutral. The mind adds the label of fear or excitement.
Precisely. And Bandura argues we can improve efficacy just by teaching people to relabel that stress, to say, this isn't fear, this is readiness.
I love that. Now, we promised the snake story.
Yes.
This is the study that really cemented a lot of this for Bandura. It sounds like something out of a reality TV show. Walk us through this snake phobia experiment.
It really does. So Bandura is working with people who have severe snake phobias. And we are not talking about you, a snake.
Yeah.
We are talking about people who couldn't look at a picture of a snake without hyperventilating. People who couldn't wear snakeskin boots. It was debilitating for them.
And he decides the best way to help them is to bring a boa constrictor into the room.
Eventually, yes. He divided them into groups to test these different sources of efficacy. So one group was the vicarious group.
The watchers.
They just watch other people handle snakes, either through a window or on a screen.
Look, that guy isn't dying. See? It's fine.
Right. And it helped a little. Their efficacy scores went up slightly. They were a bit more confident. But then there was the participant modeling group. This is guided mastery.
Okay, this is the deep end.
Well, it was the shallow end, slowly moving to the deep end. A therapist would handle the snake first. Then they would invite the patient to just approach the bowl.
Okay.
Then maybe touch the glass. Then touch the snake with a gloved hand. Then a bare hand. Then eventually hold the snake.
That sounds like absolute torture for these people.
It was incredibly stressful. They were shaking. They were sweating. But, and this is the key, they were doing it. They were accumulating undeniable firsthand evidence that they were not dying.
They were banking mastery experiences in real time.
In real time, exactly. And the results were just drastic. The group that engaged directly, the ones who had the tactile mastery experience, had significantly higher self-efficacy and a much higher rate of completely overcoming the phobia compared to the observation group.
So you can watch all the YouTube tutorials you want, you can have a life coach scream, you can do it, but until you touch the snake, the belief isn't fully there.
Direct engagement beats observation every single time. The brain needs the tactile proof.
So that's the internal engine. We build this belief through doing, through seeing relatable models, and by reinterpreting our own nerves.
Yeah.
But I want to throw a wrench in the gears here.
Please do.
Let's say I do all that. I hold the snake. I have the growth mindset. I am brimming with self-efficacy. I walk into my job ready to conquer. But my job is stapling papers for 8 hours a day in a windowless room. And I'm not allowed to talk to anyone.
Ah, the rubber meets the road.
Does my self-efficacy even matter if the environment itself is designed to crush my soul?
This is exactly why we need the second stack of research. We are pivoting now from the psychology lab to the corporate office of 1976. Enter J. Richard Hackman and Greg Oldham.
Set the scene for us. 1976 management theory. What was the vibe?
It was a transition period. For decades, the dominant theory was scientific management or Taylorism. This was the idea that you design a job like a machine.
Break it down into the smallest, simplest steps.
Exactly. The worker's just a cog. Don't think, just turn the wrench.
Efficiency above humanity.
Right. But by the 70s, managers realized this was terrible for morale, turnover was high, quality was dropping, so the buzzword became job enrichment.
Enrichment.
Everyone wanted to enrich jobs, but nobody really knew why it worked or, how to do it properly.
And Hackman and Oldham start their paper by basically roasting the existing theories. They take aim at Hertzberg's two-factor theory, which I remember learning in college as gospel.
It was gospel. The idea that there were two separate lists. Hygiene factors like pay, safety, air conditioning, which prevent you from being miserable.
But they don't make you happy.
Right. And then motivators, like achievement and recognition, which actually make you work harder. His famous line was that you can't motivate someone with pay, you can only stop them from complaining.
He called it KETA, right? Kick in the pants.
Yes. He said giving someone a bonus or a nice office is just a kick in the pants. It moves them, but it doesn't motivate them.
So why did Hackman and Oldham have beef with this? It sounds pretty reasonable on the surface.
They felt it was methodologically shaky and just too binary. Hackman argued that pay isn't just hygiene, it can be a powerful feedback signal for confidence. He also felt Herzberg completely ignored individual differences.
It assumed everyone is motivated by the same motivators.
Right. Then they also go after activation theory. This one made me laugh because it sounds like modern office design gone wrong.
What was that?
Activation theory was the idea that workers get bored because their arousal levels drop. So the solution is to just stimulate them.
Paint the walls red, play loud music.
Exactly. And Hackman just points out the absurdity of this. First, how are you going to measure a worker's arousal level in a factory in 1976? And second, habituation.
You get used to it.
If you paint the walls red to stimulate the workers, 3 weeks later, they don't even see the red anymore. It's just the wall.
It reminds me of the ping pong tables and free beer in tech startups. It's stimulation, but is it motivation?
Hackman would say absolutely not. It's a distraction. Real motivation comes from the work itself. So they propose their own model.
The job characteristics model.
Yes. They argue that for internal motivation to really happen, the worker has to experience 3 critical psychological states.
Okay, list them.
1, experience meaningfulness. You have to feel like the work actually matters. 2, experience responsibility. You have to feel personally accountable for the outcome.
And 3.
3, knowledge of results. You have to know on a regular basis how you did.
Meaningfulness, responsibility, and knowledge of results. And to get those feelings, the job itself needs specific ingredients.
Correct. So to feel meaningfulness, the job needs 3 things. Skill variety, you're doing different things, not just one repetitive motion. Task identity, you see the whole job from start to finish, not just one piece. And task significance, you know that your work helps someone.
So the classic assembly line widget stamper fails all of these. No variety, they don't see the finished car, so no identity, and they don't know who buys it, so no significance.
Exactly. So the meaningfulness tank is completely empty.
Yeah.
Then, to feel responsibility, you need autonomy. You need the freedom to decide how to do the work.
And to get knowledge of results, you obviously need feedback.
You got it. That's the core model.
So if I have autonomy and feedback and variety, my internal engine turns on. I care.
In theory, yes. If you design a job with all these traits complex, autonomous, feedback-rich motivation should skyrocket.
And this is the record scratch moment in the paper. They found that it doesn't work for everyone.
This is the critical variable. This is where Hackman meets Bandura, in a way. They introduced the concept of growth need strength, or GNS.
GNS. It sounds like a supplement you buy at the health food store.
It does, but it's actually a measure of personality, it asks. How much does this specific individual desire growth, learning, and accomplishment from their work?
I feel like we just assume everyone has high GNS, especially in our hustle culture today.
We do. We assume everyone wants to be the CEO or an entrepreneur or a thought leader. But Hackman found that was just false. Let's look at 2 hypothetical employees. Ambitious Alice has high GNS.
Okay.
And Steady Steve has low GNS.
Ambitious Alice and Steady Steve. Got it.
If you give Ambitious Alice a job with high autonomy, complex problems, and constant feedback, she thrives. Her motivation scores go through the roof. She loves it.
And Steve, what happens to Steady Steve?
If you give Steady Steve that same complex, enriched job, he doesn't thrive. In fact, the data show that for low GNS people, adding complexity can create anxiety, strain, and even lower performance.
Wait, so giving someone more freedom and more interesting work can actually make them unhappy?
If they don't have that internal desire for growth, yes. They might feel overwhelmed. They might feel like, why are you making me decide this? Just tell me what to do.
That completely flies in the face of so much modern management advice. We're constantly told to empower everyone and give them ownership.
And Hackman is saying, from 50 years ago, one size does not fit all. Management had been trying to fix boring jobs by making them interesting for everyone.
Right.
But Hackman showed that some people are perfectly happy with a simple, routine job where they know exactly what to do, they do it well, and they go home. Pushing enrichment on them is actually stressful.
There was another moderator in the data that I found fascinating, the urban versus rural finding.
Oh, this is such a deep cut in the sociology of the 1970s.
It was wild. They found that the positive link between complex work and satisfaction was really strong in rural settings or small towns. But in urban settings, in big cities, that link sometimes disappeared or even reversed. More complexity meant less satisfaction.
Yeah.
Why on earth would city workers hate complex jobs?
Well, their theory at the time was about alienation. In 1976, urban environments were often seen as colder, more transactional places.
Yeah.
Workers in cities might have viewed their job purely as a means to an end.
I work to pay rent.
I work to pay rent, and that's it. They didn't look to their job for meaning or identity.
Whereas the rural worker
Might have been more culturally aligned with the Protestant work ethic or the idea of community contribution. Their identity was more closely tied to their trade.
That is mind-blowing. It suggests that your cultural background, literally where you sleep at night, changes how your brain processes a so-called good job.
It just reinforces the core idea that you cannot design a motivation system in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You have to look at the human being who's actually sitting in the chair.
Okay, let's try to bring these two massive theories together. We have Bandura saying, you need to believe you can do it, which is self-efficacy.
Right? The internal belief.
And we have Hackman saying, the job needs to allow you to do it in a meaningful way. But T, you also have to be the kind of person who wants that challenge, which is growth needs strength.
It's a handshake. That's the perfect word for it. Motivation is a handshake between the person and the environment.
So let's get practical. We have listeners who are managers, employees, freelancers. How do we apply this architecture? Let's start with goal setting.
Absolutely. Bandura is very, very big on proximal goals.
Which are basically sub-goals.
Right. If you set a goal that is too distant, I want to write a novel, it's too far away to provide a mastery experience today. You write a page and you feel like you've done nothing compared to the 300-page mountain, your efficacy actually drops.
So you need to bring the goalpost closer to you.
Bandura says you need to set proximal goals. I want to write 500 words by lunch. If you do that, you bank a win.
You get a little hit of efficacy.
You refuel the tank for the next 500 words.
So the actionable advice is break the big scary thing down until the very first step is something you know you can master. Don't stare at the marathon. Stare at the first mile.
Exactly. Build the I can muscle with small weights first.
Okay, what about feedback? Both Bandura and Hackman seem obsessed with feedback.
They are.
Yeah.
But for slightly different reasons that converge perfectly. Bandura says feedback is necessary for self-efficacy because you need to know if your effort is working.
Right.
If you are trying hard but getting no signal back, you get confused. You don't know if you're mastering it or just failing quietly.
And silence is usually interpreted as bad news.
Correct. Silence creates anxiety. Does my boss hate this? Hackman adds to this by making feedback a core dimension of the job itself. It shouldn't just be a manager stopping by once a year for a performance review.
The job should tell you how you're doing.
The job should tell you. If you're a surgeon, the patient gets better. That's direct feedback.
Or if you're a coder, the code runs without errors.
That is immediate, unbiased feedback. If you are a manager, you need to design those loops. Your people need to see the result of their work quickly. That concise, frequent feedback is what builds the knowledge of results state.
One more practical tip from the notes, visualization. Now be careful here because you know how I feel about manifesting.
I know. But this isn't the secret. This comes from James Maddox, who expanded on Bandura's work. He talks about imaginal experiences.
Okay.
And it's not just visualizing the trophy or the big payday, it's visualizing the behavior.
So don't just visualize standing on the podium, visualize running the actual race.
Even more specific than that. Visualize the difficult part. Visualize the cramp you're going to get in your leg at mile 20. Visualize yourself dealing with it. Visualize the heckler in the audience during your speech. Visualize yourself staying calm and delivering your next line.
That is a key difference. You are rehearsing the struggle, not just dreaming about the victory.
Because research actually suggests that just fantasizing about the result, just imagining the applause, can sometimes lower motivation. Your brain feels like it's already done it, so it relaxes.
Wow.
But visualizing the process increases efficacy because you are mentally practicing your coping skills.
I like that. It's like mental sparring.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've unpacked the internal engine and the external car. We know about mastery, vicarious experience, and the need for meaningfulness. But I want to go back to that growth needs strength concept for our final thought, because it's really bothering me.
Why is it bothering you?
Because look at the world we live in. Look at LinkedIn. Look at tech culture.
Mm.
We are obsessed with growth mindset, agility, constant upskilling.
Mm-hmm.
Every single job description now asks for a rock star who thrives in ambiguity and owns their outcomes.
We're designing every job to be a high G&S job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are assuming that everyone wants to be ambitious. Alice. But Hackman showed us 50 years ago that a significant chunk of the population, maybe even the majority, are steady Steves.
And it raises a very, very provocative question. Are we creating burnout not just by overworking people, but by mismatching the psychological design of the job with the personality of the worker?
So if I have low growth needs strength, if I just want stability, clarity, and to do a good job and go home to my family, and you force me into a chaotic, autonomous, self-directed, agile squad,
You're going to be miserable. You're going to feel exposed and unsupported, and the manager's going to be frustrated. They'll say, what's wrong with them? I gave them so much freedom. I gave them ownership.
when all they wanted was a clear set of instructions and a job well done at 5 p.m.
We might be designing a modern world of work for a very specific human type that doesn't actually represent the whole population. And then you layer on the urban-rural finding.
The alienation factor.
Think about the gig economy. Think about fully remote work. We are, in some ways, more isolated and alienated than ever. If that 1976 data holds any truth, that might mean we actually crave less complexity and more structure in our work because we aren't getting that grounding from our community anymore.
So by trying to make every job a passion project, we might just be making people more anxious.
It's very possible. We need to respect the steady Steves. The world runs on them. Not everyone needs to be the architect. Someone needs to enjoy laying the bricks and do it well.
Something to mull over the next time you write a job description or set a goal for yourself. It's not just about enriching the work, it's about knowing who is doing the work.
Keep digging.